If you want to know what to expect when you're just starting out to use Rogaine or Minoxidil, and this video is 100% not sponsored, then stick around, this video is for you. I'm going to cover 3 things in this video. The first is what to expect when you start using Rogaine or Minoxidil for the very first time. We're going to go through all the little sticking points that might come up. The second thing I'm going to talk about later on in the video is how long it takes for it actually to start working and when you're going to start to see hair growing, so stick around for that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is something I've been getting asked a lot of questions about, which is I have a wedding coming up or I have a special occasion coming up like a graduation. Should I start using Rogaine? And that makes total sense because it's springtime as I record this. And so I've been getting a lot of those questions, but let's get right into it. Just a reminder here that I am not a doctor or a healthcare professional. I'm just someone who's been using Rogaine to great effect. It's worked really, really well for me for 1.5 years. And here on my channel, I document the regrowth, my own journey, and how Rogaine has worked for me, and my own tips and experience on putting it on. So go ahead and remember to like and subscribe if you want more of that good stuff. But without any further, let's talk about the very first thing you're gonna do when you're thinking about getting Rogaine. You've decided, you spoke to your healthcare professional, or you've just decided to take the plunge for whatever reason. I, again, cannot tell you whether you should or shouldn't take it. That's something that you've got to decide for yourself, hopefully with the input of your doctor. But let's say you're gonna do it. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna march on up to the pharmacy, which is where I typically buy mine. And I would say my suggestion for your very first purchase is to buy it from somewhere reputable where you know it's gonna be fresh, where you can maybe ask the pharmacist questions and things like that. Maybe this very first time is not the time to save a lot of money. It's the time by buying it online. Maybe it's the time to buy it somewhere. You could even return it if that ends up happening and you end up not liking it, because it can be expensive, as we know. And I would say stay away from buying like a 6-month supply. I would steer you more to buying a 3-month supply. The reason for that is you'll be stuck with a lot of it if you just end up not wanting to use Rogaine. So that was the first thing I wanted to mention. In my own experience purchasing Rogaine and Minoxidil, both here in Canada where I live and in the US where I love to travel and visit, the least expensive place I've ever seen it in the US has been, and I've looked at Target, I've looked at Walgreens, and I've looked at CVS. The least expensive place I've ever seen it was Target in Buffalo, New York, and I saw 3 cans of men's Rogaine for, I think it was $49.99, and they had 3 bottles of liquid Minoxidil, generic Target's Up and Up brand, and that was $19.99 for, and both of those were for a 3-month supply. Here in Canada, I was buying it at Walmart, and just FYI here, they stock it behind the actual pharmacy counter, so if you're not seeing it near the shampoos and everything else like that, the reason is they keep it, probably because it's like a high value item, you actually have to go up to the pharmacy counter and they'll just pull it for you, but it is an over-the-counter, both here in Canada and the United States, an over-the-counter product. But the cheapest place I've seen it here in Canada is well.ca. It's a little bit less expensive if you're buying the brand name Rogaine. If you've been following me here for a long time, and if you haven't, welcome, but if you have, you know that I use and purchase only men's Rogaine or men's Minoxidil, which is the generic for Rogaine. Here they are. Here's the brand name Rogaine. Here's the generic liquid. I am not going to get into this in detail, the reasons why I do this, but I have a video about this, so I'm just going to link that up. Go ahead and watch that if you're curious. What's the difference between men's and women's Rogaine and Minoxidil? I promise you will be surprised if you haven't seen that already. As I said, I don't get sponsored to make these kind of videos. I just do them because I really hope that they help everybody. Now that we're here in this position, I just thought I would show you guys a before photo of what I started out with. I had a lot of hair loss up in the crown and in my part, and I'm just gonna do a little twirl for you guys, get a little bit closer, and you can see how much my hair is filled in. I've got a ton of baby hair growth right now. So this is, I don't know if this is Rogaine or not because I don't put it up here. I tend to stick my Rogaine back here, but I'm really happy with these tiny baby hairs that are filling in. They're super soft and nice and healthy. I'm gonna do a little side twirl for you guys. You will see that my hair is totally not completely as thick as it used to be, and that's unrealistic to expect that it's gonna go back to this huge fluffy head of hair that I used to have, but it's really filled in quite well. There are definitely still thinner spots that if I want them to look perfect, I fill those in with Topic hair fibers or L'Oreal root spray. But in general, I'm really super happy with the effects of Minoxidil and Rogaine. And yeah, that was the before, and this is the after. 1.5 years. It's definitely something you need to be patient with. We'll get to that more toward the end. So once you get home with your Rogaine or Minoxidil, or you got it delivered and you open it up, typically what you have inside is 3 cans if you're buying the brand name foam, or 3 bottles if you're buying liquid. And I have heard about people using spray, like a spray as well. In all those cases, it's pretty much the same. You're just gonna open it and you're gonna apply it, obviously. So what are you gonna expect at that point? Well, this goes on very much like a foam, like hair mousse. If you've ever used hair mousse, that's pretty much the consistency that comes out. This drops, you use it in drops, like a sort of, if you've ever used a dropper for medication, it's the same idea, right? And so you're gonna put that onto your scalp and you're just gonna have a look at the directions, obviously, that come with it, and you're gonna use them. Now, when you use it, that's kind of up to you. You gotta figure out what works for your lifestyle. I get asked this question a lot. Hey Helen, how can we put it on in the morning? Can I put it on at night? Listen, you can put it on whenever you like. If you have ever watched Dr. Dre, she's an actual dermatologist. Obviously, I am not. She suggests putting it on at night and then putting some sort of cover, like a bonnet, or I think like a shower cap over the top of it and going to sleep like that. That is not gonna work for me. It's never gonna work for me. There's just no way I'm ever gonna do that. I like to do it in the morning because then I'm not gonna forget, right? It's just part of my like morning routine. And I don't go to the gym straight after and get all sweaty. Like I would strongly suggest if you're gonna be doing like some big sweat session, or say you work somewhere where you sweat and the sweat is constantly pouring in your eyes, the morning is not the time for you to do that. But if you're like me and you're not gonna get too sweaty, for me, it's always worked really, really well. I just put it on in the morning, and I've had really great success doing it that way. I don't go to the gym till the afternoon though, like late afternoon usually / evening. So, when I do, I don't sweat to the point where it runs into my eyes. So that helps as well. So you gotta make it work for you. If you're gonna be going to the gym, do that and then bring it with you and just do it after your shower at the gym. Or if you're working a job where you're sweaty and you shower when you come home, put it on then. You don't have to put it on first thing in the morning, and you don't have to put it on like right before you go to bed, in my experience. So another question I often get asked, especially on Instagram, and if you want to connect with me there privately, because not everybody wants to leave me a comment here where everybody can read it, you're always welcome. You can find my Instagram down below in the description box. You can send me a DM there and I will try my very best to get back to you. But another question I get asked a lot is, oh my gosh, the amount that they tell you to put is so little, I feel like I need more. Meaning, if you're using the foam, it tells you to use half of the cap. So one application is half of this cap, and right, to use half of that cap amount. Hopefully you can see that. And the liquid is just like 1 dropper. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I'm covering all of my hair. Well, from my experience, you don't need to be so scientific about it. I feel like people get very wrapped up in the exact milliliter amount. And in my experience, it's a little bit more forgiving than that. And also in my experience, when you first start using it, you're kind of not that fast and you're kind of not that good. And you kind of just like run out too quickly because you're being, you're just kind of, I don't want to say sloppily, but you're just not that precise yet because you don't know how to handle this product. You will get better at it, you will get faster, you will need less. If you start using like 1 dropper and you realize, of the liquid for instance, and you realize you need to use a bit more, the way I've always done it is I've just used more until I felt all my scalp was, covered nicely, and I rubbed it all in really well. But as time went on, I got a lot faster at doing it and a lot better and a lot more precise. I really knew how to hit those areas quickly that needed to the Rogaine or the Minoxidil to be applied to them. And that's always worked well for me. So that's my tip to you. Yeah, you can use, in my experience, you can use a bit more, but eventually you won't need to. You'll see, you'll get quick at it and you will spread it around quickly and you'll be at the amount that they say, maybe even less. What can you expect in terms of what it feels like going on? In the way I would describe it is this feels exactly like hair mousse, which is to say it feels like you're just putting something kind of foamy and dissolvey, almost a little bit bubbly. That's how it feels on the scalp. It doesn't, for me, cause any kind of sensation. It doesn't cause any tingling or burning or anything like that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Definitely read the side effects. If you're having any side effects, check with your pharmacist, check with your doctor. You want to discuss side effects. Not with me, I'm a YouTuber, but with an actual healthcare professional. What does the liquid feel like? It feels kind of cold, especially as I'm in a cold climate here. So this is always a little bit colder than my skin temperature. It feels a little slimy and oily. It feels like I'm dropping a bit of a liquidy oil on my head, which is exactly what I'm doing. So that's what to expect with this. I don't feel anything though. Really, like after I've rubbed it in, I don't feel anything later in the day. It doesn't feel stinging, like again, tingling, itchy. I've luckily never had any of those side effects. That's not to say or take away from the experience of others who might have had that. But for me, it just feels like putting in literally any other hair product. I could not differentiate this between hair mousse. In a blind study, if you gave me hair mousse and you gave me this, and they were both unscented, because these products are unscented, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them. Even though I am not a doctor or a healthcare practitioner, I would be remiss not to mention the fact that Rogaine and Minoxidil can cause side effects. Most commonly definitely from what I've read, understood, and watched even dermatologists such as Dr. Dre discuss, it can cause burning, irritation, and sensitivity and dryness of the scalp. And the other thing that you should know about is that it can cause your hair to fall out, and this is the number one thing that makes people panic. But what that is not necessarily, it's not pushing all your hair out and you'll never grow it back. It is just changing the cycle of your hair, so that hair that was gonna fall out is maybe falling out a little bit more quickly now, and the Rogaine is gonna make new hair pop out in its place. So it's not supposed to be like it makes your hair fall out forever. It's supposed to be just like it's pushing it to fall out faster than it normally would, to be replaced, and I think this is the part that people are missing, by new healthy hair. So what does the new hair look like when you have hair growing in from Rogaine and Minoxidil? I am just gonna walk here with my iPhone, which incidentally takes amazing video, and you guys can maybe get a closer look for yourselves. People wanna know, does it grow in like baby fine? Does it grow in all white? These are like the two most common things I get asked. So I'm just gonna go near a window here in my bathroom and let you guys have a closer look. I have pretty fine hair and I have white hair, but I think you'll agree that it pretty much, there's not some sort of huge differentiation between like my actual hair and my Rogaine grown hair. For me, they look pretty similar. I've never been able to tell a difference between the Rogaine hair and the regular hair, so hopefully that helps. All right, back to my regular camera, which is so much more flattering. Why do I use my iPhone? It is such a truth teller, I don't know. The question you've all been waiting for, thank you for being patient, is how long does it take for Rogaine to start working? How long is it gonna take for me to see new hair growing? Okay, 1 month, in my experience, you don't see anything. 2 months, I didn't see very much. Maybe results will differ for you. 3 months, starting to see a little something coming up, a little darker, but I wouldn't say I saw hair really at that point. 4 months, yes, for sure. I could notice a difference in my bald spots and thinning areas were really starting to fill in. So the answer is really 3 to 4 months. And I've confirmed this by watching physicians talk about it, and it seems like 4 months is the time frame that you can expect. Which leads me to my next point, which is to talk about weddings, which is another question I'm getting asked very frequently. So let's go with that. So now let's talk about whether you should start using Rogaine in advance of your wedding or a special occasion such as your upcoming graduation or something like that. And of course, I get this question like 2 or 3 months before people are gonna have that wedding or graduation, because they've realized their hair is not gonna grow back in time for that special occasion. What do I think about it? Should they start using it or not? Hey, here's the thing to remember. As I just said, it takes 4 months to see anything. And in the meantime, if you are paying attention, you'll realize that one of the side effects of Rogaine and Minoxidil is your hair can start to fall out. So I'm just saying, if you're getting ready for a wedding or a special occasion such as a graduation or retirement or something like that, look, you do not want to add more stress to your life by using a product that could make more hair fall out in the short term. If you're talking a year ahead of time of your wedding, then yeah, you've got lots of time to see if it works for you. But if you're in that sort of 4-month time frame, maybe not. Even if you're in the 6-month time frame, I'd say this is maybe not the time to start experimenting with your hair. But with the other thing I'm so surprised at, I get asked this question about weddings a lot, and I almost always ask the brides, are you going to be using helper hair? And they always say no. People, here are my extensions that I made. I will link up a video I made. I made these. They're not great, but listen, you can buy them very inexpensively from like a beauty supply shop. There's Amazon, there's many ways to get yourself some extensions, AKA helper hair. And some women think I mean wearing a wig. They're like, no, I don't want to wear a wig to my wedding. And I'm like, no, there's so many other solutions other than wearing a wig. All women, you realize all brides are using helper hair, and you realize that all bridal hairstylists worth their salt have put in extensions, and more extensions. They all know how to do this. This is something you need to discuss with your bridal hairstylist. If you're going to be doing it yourself, look into a topper. Look into some clip-in extensions or something like that. Like This is the time for helper hair, people. You want to be looking bomb in those wedding photos, and you need to start researching extensions, toppers, etc. And I promise you, if you're using a stylist who works on wedding hair, she knows how to put these in. Girls with a ton of hair are still putting in extensions, so I don't know what y'all are playing at, trying to grow your hair out huge in 3 or 4 months. Be realistic, that's not gonna happen. Buy some helper hair, you will not be sorry. I have a family member who did that decades ago at this point, and she looked amazing in her bridal photo. Like, why wouldn't you do that? That was back then. There was like huge stigma against helper hair, fake hair, whatever you wanna call it, clip-in extensions. There is no stigma anymore against clip-in extensions and stuff like that. And everybody, all stylists know how to use it when they're doing updos and stuff like that. Please, please, please go ahead and do that. That is my advice if you have a wedding or special occasion coming up. If I missed anything, if there's anything else you want to know about Rogaine, Minoxidil, and those very first baby steps, please go ahead and drop me a note in the comments. Connect with me on Instagram and send me a DM there. I am open to hearing from you guys. Love to hear from you. Let me know how your journey is going with it and whether these tips are good. Give this a like, thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.